everybody. This is Liz from Augusta, and today I have with me Jeff Bromley, and I'm just going to let Jeff share where he's from and a little bit about where he grew up and all that good stuff, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so as Liz said, my name's Jeff Bromley. I'm out in Sandwich, Massachusetts. So that's a little peninsula. It sticks out in the ocean there on the East Coast. And I grew up here in Sandwich and still here working away. I have a landscape business. Been doing this. I'm coming up on 12 years and going into my fourth season with Augusta here.
Excellent. So we'll get into that a little bit, but can you give us a little background on your childhood, siblings? And it sounds like you've been there your whole life since you were born.
Yeah, yep. I was born 1973. I'm coming up on my 50th birthday here in July. So, yep. I wasn't born right here in Sandwich. I was actually born up near Boston, Massachusetts, in the outside Quincy. I have a sister. She's a few years older than me. I have quite a few. I have three stepbrothers and a stepsister. Yeah. So when I was younger, I was about 7, 8. I lost my father at a young age, and I've, been fighting with that through the years, working through that, so to speak. And yeah, that's kind of a little bit about my background.
So you were raised by a single mom, or did she get remarried right away?
Yeah. So she remarried, I'd say, within a couple years of my father passing, and great man. I just had lunch with him yesterday. He's always done as much as he can for me. But as a in the role of a step parent, there's always some different challenges in there. So I did have some difficulties
For sure.
with coming up through the teenage years and working things out without my paternal father around was challenging. But yeah, that's just I know it's a little personal, but I wanted to share that just to have an understanding of
How was
my
it for you
background.
and your sister when you were immediately thrown into a situation where you had instant brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so there's one stepbrother that I'm really close with. The others, they were older, so I didn't have as much of a relationship with them. Mike is his name, the one that I'm still fairly close with. So yeah, that was great to have somebody else. He's a few years older than me, so I looked up to him, and he would spend time with me one-on-one, which was great as a young boy to have somebody to spend time with and look up to. Yeah.
Okay, and bringing us to today, do you have a wife and children, or what's your family dynamic?
Yeah, I've been married now. We're coming up on 20 years.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's been a lot of learning, a lot of growing. And we have two young children. So I have a 5-year-old daughter and 11-year-old boy. And
Oh, you're busy.
they're watching a movie right now. My wife picked up a shift at work, and
Oh, wow.
so they're upstairs. I talked to my son John. I'm like, if Sophia has any questions, because she's quite a bit younger, you're going to need to try and answer them. If it's an emergency, then you come get dad. But we'll
So
see.
you bribed them.
Oh yeah, I was told once bribery, trickery, or deceit. That's what I was told by somebody I was actually landscaping for, and I would talk with him when I go there, and he would tell me stories, and he's like, it's bribery, trickery, or deceit. That's how you get through it.
Well, it is true, because I paid my kids to do everything, to drink their little green slime in the morning and to play their guitar. I did. I paid them every time. That's the way I got them to do stuff.
Oh yeah, I pay my son John. I started paying him to mow the lawn a couple years ago. It's great motivation to get him out there. Plus, I feel like now he has some money and he has to figure out how to handle it and things like that. And he started doing chores now. He's got like a weekly chore list, and he knows he's going to get paid at the end of the week. So he's like, it definitely motivates him.
Yeah, I
So
paid them to brush their teeth and to take their vitamins, and because I figured if I could pay them little bits of money to do that, then they would do them and they'd become habits.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. So it works, right?
Works. I hope they still brush their teeth, but I don't think they drink green slime because they still hold that against me.
Green slime, huh?
It was just like greens, and I would give them little shots of greens in the morning. It was one little shot, and they still threw a fit.
Yeah, like a vitamin type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's bring it up to today. You said you were in lawn care for 12 years before you came to
Yeah.
Augusta?
Yeah, I think it's been about 12. Well, no, I started the business in 2011 on my own.
Okay.
And then in 2019, I was introduced to Mike through a coworker, actually, that had come across him online. And he
Mm-hmm.
was like, we were going through some tough times with the business, and the coworker knew it. He's like, maybe you should check this out. And I believe it was the business course Mike has online.
Oh, landscape business course?
Yeah, that I
Mm-hmm.
started watching that, and I was looking for help. I was thinking of like a consultant within the green industry to coach
Mm-hmm.
me, mentor me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'd take like from 2011 to 2019, we weren't profitable. I was, just all sorts of struggles, all a
Mm-hmm.
variety of different challenges. Uh, I took on a lot of debt, and I really didn't have much to show for it other than some trucks and some accounts, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing really more than that. Just scraping by. I knew I needed help. And yeah, I came across Mike. It was like perfect timing because I had just kind of turned a new page, but I knew like this was like my last chance to
Mm.
try and get it right because, my wife was concerned. There were some things going on with the business that she didn't realize. I didn't know that from my perspective, I was just doing whatever I needed to do to make it work. And it really wasn't uh, an issue, but like an outsider looking in, like my wife was like,
Right.
oh my God, like this is not good where you are with this debt
Yes.
and like barely scraping by. So we were able to work through it, but it was like, hey, you got to get it right this time, or this isn't
Mm.
gonna like work anymore.
Did she want you
And
to get a job somewhere else if it didn't work this time?
uh it was looking like, yeah, you need to do something else if this
Mm-hmm.
isn't like profitable. If you're putting money into it but you're not getting money out of it, then like why are you doing it?
Right.
For me, it was more about like, I don't know if it's pride or ego, but it was like I'm not quitting. I'm not gonna fail at this. I'm all in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tough, I think, as a business owner to accept like defeat, I guess.
Mm-hmm. We
You
worked so
know?
hard to build it.
Yeah, it's like like people of other successful business owners that I've listened to, it's like a child,
For
and you
sure.
just like you're committed. You're 100% committed.
Yes.
So, and yeah, uh that's kind of when I picked up on Augusta, and yeah, it's been a lifeline for me because honestly, I don't know where I would be today. Maybe I would have had to scale back and just been like a one man show or with a
Mm-hmm.
couple people helping me. Uh, I don't think I would have been able to scale up
Mm-hmm.
by myself.
So backtracking just a little bit, was your
Hmm.
friend watching Mike on YouTube? And were they just searching something for landscape, or had he come across him and said, "Hey, you need to Google"? Like, I know that you are very much into self improvement and finding coaches or mentors. And so, did he know, oh, he's in the landscape business? I found this guy for Jeff. Like, how did he stumble upon it?
I think he just listened to a lot of podcasts actually,
Okay.
and I think he was listening to Mike on a podcast, and he just happened to mention it. This is pretty good content, and
Mhm.
I should, yeah, I might be interested in listening to it. And
So when you started listening and then the landscape business course, when you would listen, what was it that you liked? Did you like the depth of it, like real good business advice? Is that what kind
yeah,
of attracted you, or was it Mike as a person, his character? What was it?
it was initially, it was the content, like he dives in deep,
Hmm.
very numbers oriented, and that engaged me. Uh I like, and it was uh like right to the point,
Hmm.
uh not any fluff. It was Mike, and uh being truthful. That's, I don't need like a whole lot of fluff and a whole lot
Yep.
of drama around stuff and a whole like
Right.
extravagance, and that kind of turns me off actually.
Yep.
Mike was very simple, the whiteboard, the numbers, this is how you do it, and that's what I'm drawn towards.
Hmm.
So
Now you were one of the first 10 franchisees. Do you know what number you are?
I don't. I remember I was at an. I believe I was the initial group, but I was
You
unable
were.
to train with them because I was doing some training with the army, and
I see.
I was in Wisconsin, Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. Uh, but I did go from Wisconsin out to Washington, and then I came back home.
Well, you
But
better tell us about that. Were you off on drill? Were you in the reserves, or how did you end up there?
oh, so yeah, in the army, your first few ranks, you just, it's pretty much, as long as you don't make any big mistakes, you're just promoted automatically.
Mm.
Once you get up to the rank of sergeant, you need to go to schools, leadership schools,
Okay.
to keep working your way up. So I
Mm.
was at a leadership school.
I see. And I
Yeah.
bet you loved that part.
Uh it's, I mean, it's good for me. I don't like it. Uh I mean, but it's good for me. I had to, like, you got to do some like maneuvers with a formation, like
Mm-hmm.
you're up in front instructing movements, and then there's like different formations you need to learn, and that's always like, once I do it, I'm like real happy I've done it, but
Yeah.
it's not pleasant for me to have to get up and do that. It's nerve-wracking.
Well, the special part for us is you ended up coming and getting training all by yourself or with one other person, I believe.
Yeah, well, there was two of us, and that's when I got to you know meet Mike more,
Hmm.
the person he is, and then
Yes.
that just reinforced everything else that was kind of going on, uh, from watching him on YouTube to.
Hmm.
I mean, it was the lead up to it as well. I mean, we talked on the phone, and
Right.
obviously, when you're speaking with somebody, you gauge uh, personality and
Hmm.
attitude and all that stuff. So
Well, this was very new. So we had just started the franchise. And so the first 10 people, that's a huge risk. I mean, a risk on your part, a risk for him to start the franchise, a risk for you guys to believe in him and join. So you knew that. So you knew you were on the ground level of something. And what would make you jump in and take a risk like that with somebody so young, just starting out?
well, 100% genuine. I didn't have any, like, there was zero doubt in my mind as far as integrity. And
And the fact that he was just, I mean, I won't call him a kid, but a kid compared to you, did you feel like he had wisdom beyond his years or,
oh
enough
yeah,
business savvy to lead?
oh yeah, I felt it was proven at that point because of Bellingham. Like,
Right.
the proof, like I was told once by a teacher, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. And like,
True.
it was to me, my opinion was undeniable. Like, all
So
right,
you knew
and
if you followed the systems that he's saying, because in the landscape business course, he does step by step of everything he had done in the first very humble 3 years of his business, and then he put that in a course. So with that in mind, and you having seen that, then I guess looking at Bellingham, oh, he just replicated that again and kept going, and look how big that company's become. So you saw there was potential.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just like intuition. It was
Okay.
uh
So you're a good judge of character, I would say. Or I mean,
well,
you
with
can read
my
people.
own staffing, I'm like, what did I do? Like after 2 weeks of like someone once told me, like when you hire somebody, about 2 weeks in, you'll know. And like,
True.
but anyways, yeah, I think I'm a good judge of character.
Yeah. Well, I think you're pretty wonderful, but we'll get to that.
Uh,
So, so
well,
how is
thank
your
you. I think you're wonderful. I mean, you've done an awful lot more than anybody could ask for. So thank you.
yeah, we'll get to that because I feel real special bond with you. But how do you feel your journey has been with Augusta so far?
Yeah, like I said, it's been it was been a lifeline for me. It's opened my eyes up tremendously to a lot of things professionally, personally. There's been a lot of introspection, particularly now that we're up over 100 franchisees. It's a real big population of us. You got to take a hard look at yourself. You got to ask yourself, why is someone else able to achieve something and what and I haven't? If things I'm
Yeah,
working towards, and
right.
you got to be honest with yourself. uh it's not always easy, but that's how you learn, that's how you grow. uh so it's been nothing but positives for me. uh I tend to try and always look at things in a positive frame. I'm not like initially, like with anybody, you think of the negative, you're naturally drawn to it.
Hmm.
uh but I try and then change my frame of reference. And so it's been a positive experience. It's exactly what I need.
Hmm. Is there anything that you would do differently if you started over now with Augusta?
With specifically my journey with Augusta, uh, no, I don't think there really is. My biggest constraint right now is I have young children at home.
Hmm.
Uh, I because of losing my father at a young age, I have like zero compromise on my family time.
I
Like
see. Yep.
I'm between 35 and 40 hours a week with the business,
Hmm.
and I unless it's an emergency, I'm not going outside of that. Uh, and that's challenging at trying to grow a business within that
Hmm.
limited amount of time, because as you know, you could easily spend 50, 60 hours a week and still not accomplish your to-do list.
Exactly.
uh, so
So
that's
that's
kind of
really
what
your non-negotiable kind of foundation of your life that you're not going to compromise.
that and my personal health, because a big part of my father's untimely passing, he was a business owner. He owned a restaurant, he owned a bar room that was part of the restaurant, and he was just there 24/7. That was
Mhm.
his life, and I understand it. And he was providing for us, uh but he did not take care of himself. I mean, I think he had some genetic things for him to pass at a
Yeah.
young age as well, but he didn't take care of himself. Like he had been told a few months before he passed by his doctor, there's something going on with your heart. You need to come in and get that checked out. And well, I'll get to that
Wow.
when the season ends, because it's a very seasonal where I'm on Cape Cod. It's a tourist.
Okay.
Our population doubles, triples in the
Wow.
summertime months, depending upon where you are on the Cape.
Mhm.
So it was the go time, and he would figured he'd take care of it when the winter rolled around. Well, the winter never rolled around for him. He passed in I think it was like September. So
Wow.
that's another big non-negotiable for me.
Right. I
Is
can see that.
I love to run. I love to do some other types of exercising, and I'm not giving that up, and I'm not giving up my family time. So I don't know what the initial question was, but uh, yeah,
Is
I
there
wouldn't
anything you would
change.
Yeah.
No, I mean, looking back to when I started on my own, like if I was going to give advice to somebody, and you know, it's hard to give advice when you're still learning and growing yourself. But I have a habit of buying like used trucks. That's one thing that's I'm always still up against. I'm like, you pay one way or another. So if you can
Yeah.
afford to buy something a little nicer, do that, because I'm still underneath trucks turning wrenches. I like to turn wrenches and work on stuff. So but it's not what I should be doing.
Yeah.
So if I was going to give advice, like, remember, you own a business, and like Mike says, money in, money out, more money out. Like, what do you need to do to grow the business? And there's a quote I heard Mark Cuban say, and it's sales cures all. So
Mhm.
like that's your role. Like once you're up and running and you have estimates, that should be the top priority. Your
Mm.
sales cures all. So if you're making sales, closing sales, then you're going to be generating revenue, which in turn is going to, push the growth of the company.
Mhm. So did it take
So
you a while to come to that realization and to try to balance that with your family life? Is that
yeah, I'm still up against it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it, but like estimates come in and it might be, 3, 4 days till I get to them. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
the estimate is like, that is the number one thing. So
And if you're
that's actually
marketing, you paid for it.
that's my big like thing this year is like my estimate days. I just
Mhm.
like, and I told my right hand man, Nick, I'm just like blinders. If it's an emergency, call me. But if it's not an emergency, text me, and I'll check my texts in the
Mhm.
morning. And I'll check them in the afternoon. But otherwise, I'm like blinders, and I just
Mhm.
want to, because that's how I'm gonna grow, right? It simply
Mhm.
boils down to how many like I know my close ratio, so like how many estimates can I get out, and then
Right.
if I close half of them, then in my average ticket sales $1,500. Well, there's my revenue right there.
Mhm.
So I mean, I've got it figured out in my mind, but like the actual execution is
Yeah. Practical
that's the
application.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the tough part.
Yeah, so if there's I'm sure others that are listening to you that had very difficult childhoods, and there's certain
Mm-hmm.
things, they say that you either go the very same way as the person in your family that was that way, say they're an alcoholic or something, or you go the
Mm.
other way and you never take a drink in your whole life.
Yeah.
So people like you that are prioritizing something in their life,
Mm-hmm.
how have you done it? Is it that you sought out, say, an employee that was really good and tried to put them in the position of what you need to be as an owner so that you didn't have to be so hands-on all day long?
Well, yeah, I've always tried to, you know, develop the people underneath me. Is that what
Mhm.
you're asking?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
because you have this non-negotiable, that means you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna go there and spend 12 to 14 hours a day because you've already decided I'm gonna pick my kids up for school or I'm
Yeah.
gonna be there till they go to school. So somebody's got to do that if you're gonna run a business. So did you try to look within your business to find
Mm-hmm.
somebody to
Oh
be that
yeah.
person for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm always trying to groom uh people that are coming in. And I mean, and that kind of rolls into the bigger picture of providing opportunities for others
Mhm.
is kind of not kind of that's what I'm driving towards. Like, how many people can I provide opportunities for?
Mhm.
So yeah, I looked within, and I consider myself very fortunate. I have someone, with me that's excellent, and shows up to work every day, and that's key,
Mhm.
is having like a right hand person
Mhm.
that can step in. And
And so
yeah, they're not.
does he get kind of your lifestyle and what you're meaning to do and that you're not compromising on that?
That's a good question. I've never actually sat down with him and said, "Hey, these are my non-negotiables."
Mhm.
I think he realizes, he sees me out running occasionally when they're working, and
Mhm.
he's, knows on certain days, like, because my wife works as well, so there's certain
Mhm.
days I'm like getting the kids on the bus and getting them off the bus, so he knows those
Right.
days and stuff like
Okay.
that. But
Okay.
yeah,
So
and I mean,
I
it has impacted. Things are a little bit tighter with the
For
business
sure.
because of that, and a little bit more stressful because of that.
Right.
But you got to be willing to accept that trade-off, and I'm
Exactly.
you
And you're
know,
okay with it.
there's a risk with everything, so that's kind of.
Yes, for sure. So in the amount of time since you've been with Augusta, how much has your business grown financially? What are your numbers like?
Well, we've doubled. I think when I was solo, like not solo, but when I was before Augusta, maybe I hit 250K.
Okay.
And we broke 500K this year, which was a big thing for me
Yeah.
personally
And
to break through.
how many years has that been?
Three years with Augusta,
So that's
heading into my.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I feel like, it's, the first year was just, I want to say it was at least 30% growth. I knew the exact percent at one point, but and I didn't hire any new people. It's all P for P. It was
Wow.
just pay for performance.
Yes.
So that was a massive catalyst to growth right there, the pay for performance.
Did you
And
feel like
then,
you could operate with fewer guys because you were using P for P?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
certainly,
same here.
certainly. I mean, I could go on and on about that. It's
Sure, share
it's the
about your
way.
experience when you first introduced it and the benefit.
Well, I mean, there's always skepticism with the new,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
and in hesitancy. Uh, but once people figure out, hey, it's 8 hours worth of work, but if I do it in 6, I'm getting the same amount of money,
Hmm.
and then you just got to work in the yellow slip process, which is basically quality control,
Right.
is uh, as long as you're diligent with that. I mean, it's the way to do it. It's the way to do it. You can offer people more money. It's their time. You're giving them their time back.
Exactly. And if they want more money, they're more than welcome to have more work, which means we can work with fewer employees because they are money motivated.
Right. It's more profitability for the business, which is in turn more opportunity for me personally, because I like to keep most of it back in the business. So
Hmm.
it's more opportunity for everybody because it trickles down. Uh,
Do you think following the systems is what has helped you go from that 200 to 500 so quickly?
yeah, certainly it's the systems that I struggle with before I didn't have any systems when I was on my own. I wasn't a businessman. I had been landscaping from maybe 2006 to 2011 for someone who I still speak with today and who's a mentor for me. And uh, I I went away on a deployment with the military overseas. I came back from that. I had saved up a little bit of money, and I said, "Well, I'll just give it a try on my own." I bought a truck and a mower, and but like I was okay at the work, but it was just a job.
Yes.
It wasn't a business. It was a job. And then when I tried to turn it into a business and scale it, I failed. Uh,
Hmm.
and failed in the sense that, I mean, I still had the business, but I wasn't generating profit, and I was barely getting by. I mean, it's a failure, right? So,
Do you think being in the military actually helped you because of the systems and that you learned there and the discipline? Do you think that helped you to follow the systems without a whole bunch of pushback?
well, I mean, the biggest thing for me following the systems was I 100% believe in Mike, and I
Mm,
believe in our founder and his vision, and and I didn't. I know you're always supposed to question things, but I have a tough time like questioning something. Someone is, as successful as he is. Why, like, if it's you're gonna do it the way he's telling you to do it.
yeah, at least try to replicate it before you pass judgment or try something else.
Yeah. Uh, you know, obviously we're all unique individuals with our God-given talents, and we're not replicas of somebody. We're all
Exactly.
individuals.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have that piece of it, uh, even under a franchise model. But you got to follow the frame. Like, okay, this is how we're building the foundation. This is how we're going to build the walls. Like, and then okay, here's your home. Now you can run your house how you want to an extent. I mean, obviously
Yes,
there's
that's
some
great.
there's rules as well within the home, but uh I mean, as far as, yeah, you gotta build it the right way. I mean,
That is,
don't miss, like I still struggle to
oh
this
yeah.
day with like meeting that bar. It's extremely high bar, and that's good. Like you never want to necessarily meet it. You want to be always driving towards it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it hard for you to see so much change so fast because our
It,
Augusta is growing
mm-hmm.
so fast?
Yeah, that causes a lot of introspection
Yeah, it
and like
does.
looking at yourself and asking yourself some tough questions. And
Mhm.
then you don't want to beat yourself up over it. And you can get caught up in the whole I want to keep up with the Joneses thing, but you need to sit down and spend some time with yourself and figure out exactly what you want, like as an individual. You
Mhm.
cannot, personally for me, you just don't follow the herd. You want to pay attention, you want to watch what's going on, you want to learn, you want to grow, but you got to determine what's good for you, what's a good fit for you, and how you want to do it.
Yeah, I
So
think that
that's
that
been
right
tough.
there speaks to a lot of people because they do see people that are successful. Well, you have no idea what other kind of support systems they have or their own personal capability. And I think that's very wise that you can look inward and put your own capabilities into perspective with what the most important thing is in your life, which is your family. It's not like you're a single guy that doesn't can sleep in their van and work 120 hours a week.
Yeah, we all have everyone has their own reality.
Yes.
No one has the same lens they're looking through things with.
Yes,
and
for sure.
and also, like you said, like everyone's not Michael Jordan. There's some people with God-given gifts. You got to find yours and you got to
Exactly.
exploit yours, but you're not going to be Michael Jordan necessarily, but maybe you play Division 1, you
For sure.
know, uh whatever it is.
Yeah,
And you got to you got to
go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, what I have found about you is really if I had to say what your superpower is that you do trust and that you find something and you go all in and trust it until it doesn't work. So like if it didn't work, you would be like, "Whoa, hey, but you trust it to the degree that I do. Like I could go do my own thing. I could go do something else. But if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to trust it and I'm going to like be along for the ride. And I know we're growing fast and we pivot. And the same thing, I have to constantly do that introspective thing. Like, okay, we're still better together
Yeah,
doing this hard thing than for me to be by myself.
right. Yeah, it's you need that healthy competition.
Yes.
You need that, but you got to know your limits, your personal capacities. We touched on that at Summit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and then can you tell us a little bit for those who don't know what the command center is and what it does for the franchisee?
so the command center is like the backbone of the whole operation. So I'm out, doing the estimates and, you know, working on stuff that's broken down and jumping on jobs, but everything that needs to happen in the background to even allow us to like set foot on the property and do the work, like that's all, like that back room, that's like 90% of it. The last 10% actually, physically on the property doing the work. They handle all of that in the background. And
So they're
it's,
like your office managers, kind of, except
yeah,
you have a whole bunch of them.
right. And it's been a tremendous benefit for me. I certainly would not be able to do what I'm doing now without the command center. There's just no, possible way I'd be able to do that. And
It's okay if the kids are there. I don't care. They're part of the thing.
come on over, John.
They can come say hi. We'd
Yeah.
love to meet them anyway. I've seen them
You want to
before.
say hi?
They were on our virtual. Hey, John, how you doing?
Saturday morning, Liz. He's in his pajamas.
Well, that's okay. I'm glad he's in his pajamas on Saturday morning. So
Did you
back
want to
to
say hi?
Yeah, let him come over.
Hi.
Hi, John. Nice to meet you. I'm Liz. I like your pajamas.
Well, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm talking to your dad about Command Center.
Oh, yeah,
right?
I got my earbuds in. He can't hear. He can't hear what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, good. We'll talk about him. That's awesome. So, because you started in the first 10 and you were there from the very beginning of us having Command Center. So,
Yeah.
all the birth pains and trying to build systems and them messing up and then us having to try something else, like we built it from nothing. And
Yeah.
so, you were with us in the beginning years of all of this pain and pain on ourselves and frustration for the franchisees.
It was a lot more pain for all of you, and thank you.
Well, that is why I feel like it's so tremendous to have you as part of that team because number one, you trusted the systems and you believed in what we were doing. So your feedback was tremendous. It wasn't like, oh no, this is messed up, I'm so mad. It was like, okay, what do we need to do for this not to happen again? I'm frustrated. Am I looking at it wrong? Am I doing it wrong? And it makes us just collaborate so well to have made it better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You phenomenal. I mean, Command Center is a big piece of what, I would say sets Augusta's franchise model apart from a lot of other organizations out there.
So some franchisees, they just can use bits and pieces of it, right? So
Absolutely.
How much do you use?
I use all of it except the invoicing. It's good for me to see the numbers and be a little bit more intimate with that part of the business. And then I do the scheduling.
Okay.
Because it's, there's a lot of variables in there with the schedule and it's easier for me to just do that right now on my own. With
How many
Nick.
employees? How many employees do you have?
Last summer we got up to 7 for a short period, and then we finished off the year with 5.
And do you do snow?
We do snow. Yep.
And does Nick run the routes, like set the jobs up and optimize? You set the jobs up, and then does he route and optimize them and then run the crews?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hands off with all that, and you taught me that too as well at one period when you were doing the scheduling, and I was too involved with it, and
You mean
you
like
let me
how
know.
to define each of you define your roles and then stay out of each other's way?
Department was the word you used. Departments. That stuck with me.
It's not easy.
That stuck with me. That still sticks with me. I hope it always sticks with me.
Yeah, and it's that way here. As we created departments here, it's like you can come over and ask me about something in my department, but don't come over, like I teach them, don't come over and try to run their department. You come approach them like, are you in charge? Well, we're having this struggle. Can we switch this up? But you don't mess up what they're doing in their department.
That was my weakness, and I need to be careful with that because I'm like, okay, you have all the freedom to do this, and then they start doing it, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh.
Like, so it's
and it's probably not like how you would do it. Sometimes it's better, but sometimes it kind of falls apart.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, I would not do that way, but
yes.
I'm not going to say anything, and I'm just going to let it unfold. And sometimes you're surprised, and sometimes you're not. But maybe you discuss it at a later date when the time's right, and collaborate a little bit more on it.
What's it like for when somebody's really good and you really appreciate having them on the team, and then you lose them?
it's you got to expect it. Like you always got to remind yourself, like what's the worst that could happen here,
Mhm.
and and you're like, okay, that you know, it's gonna happen. Uh it's tough because you look at yourself and you're like, what did I do wrong to cause someone to want to
Mhm.
leave? You look at yourself. Uh yeah, it stings. It it hurts. But then you're always you consider, well, they're an individual and they're not me, and they're doing, I was able to get them from here to there, and now they're moving on to something for them that's better.
Mhm. So you're
So
valuing what you poured into them and saying,
that's
"At
how you
least I
have to
made a."
look at it.
Yeah, at
That's
least you
how you
made a
have to look at
difference.
it. And you can't replace that person because everyone's unique, but you got to find the next person and what can you do to help them to to grow and develop. And
Does it help
obviously,
you to make sure that all their roles are divided up, everybody's, and everybody knows how to do everybody's job so that it's not dependent on a couple really good people?
yeah, that's the best. That's ideal. Like that's how it is in the military. You want to know the person's job underneath you, and you want to know the person's job above you,
I
and
love it.
everybody. That's how it's all structured because you don't know.
Yeah, so I guess that's when rank is important. It's not just we're one big happy family and everybody's doing part of their thing.
Yeah, that's a whole different, type of. It depends upon the situation and what's happening. Sometimes you need a leader that's just like shooting from the hip, and you got to fall in line.
Yep,
And it's a little different in business when you're trying to build a culture and a team that's
it is
working
true.
together.
It can't
You
be
know,
so hard and cut and dry, we found.
no, uh, you know, you got to show empathy,
Yeah.
obviously.
So what are your long-term goals for this year and then long-term?
Yeah, so this year I don't have a big revenue growth. I'd like to grow by 25%.
Okay.
It's going to be tough. We haven't had any
Yes.
snow. We haven't had any snow at all. I haven't
Oh,
seen a winter
and
like this in a decade.
I didn't see
So,
you running a bunch of routes.
no, we haven't. I I would not have plowed it all this winter except one property. They asked me to plow it, but it was like an inch of snow.
Hmm.
Uh so yeah, that we're off. We're behind,
Mhm.
but you know, we'll hopefully make it up here with the spring work and the summer work. But yeah, that's
Mhm.
my immediate goal for this year: grow by 25%. Really try and bring in a couple, 2, 3 team members that we can mentor and groom and grow to take on
Mhm.
new roles and responsibilities. Just build a team. I'm still struggling with building a team. When I came into Augusta, I had a really strong core, but over the past few years, one moved out of state and another moved on to another position within another company. So I'm trying to bring that core back together.
Yeah.
And the longer term goal within 3 years, I want to get this location, to 7 figures,
Mhm.
or is very close to 7 figures. I feel like at that point, Nick would be able to be a general manager.
For sure.
Uh, maybe even someone else could be doing some estimating. Uh, I want to develop other locations like what's happening in, I believe it's North Carolina. I want them close together.
Yeah, that's smart.
Whether it's someone we hire that takes advantage of the Triple F program and it's their own location, I'm partnering with somebody, or I'm opening it myself. I mean, I'm not really concerned with how we go about it at this
Mhm.
point. It's just that's the longer term goal is to participate in the growth of Augusta
Mhm.
on a bigger level.
So
But
move yourself out, let Nick run that one and then see where it goes from there.
I guess, I mean, I want to give Nick the opportunity
Yeah.
to fall into that GM role
Right.
and reap the benefits of that position.
Yes. So
But
either
I got a
you're
long way to
just
go. I got a double. So I don't like to think about that too much. I'm like, what do I got to do today? What do I got to do
Yep,
tomorrow?
one foot in front of the other,
Yeah.
doing it live. So can you share with me audibles, podcasts, anything you're listening to right now, or sermons, whatever that's you're
Yeah.
really keen on?
Yeah. I'll go through phases where I'll kind of just focus on one person.
Mhm.
I don't bounce around a lot. I mean, podcasts, maybe I bounce around a lot, but like recently, Earl Nightingale, he's a guy from back in the 50s. He was one of the original pioneers of like audio recordings
Oh,
and like
wow.
sending
Okay.
records out. He did one for his team. I think it was called this, not The Secret, but something along those lines. He had to go on a business trip. His manager asked him to do a recording. He did a recording for his team, and then his team started giving it to some people to listen to, and then from there he partnered with somebody. It was the Nightingale Conan
Hmm.
group, I think,
So
something
this
along
was
those lines.
business. This was business.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, he was very, very successful businessman, but he was also just like self-development, positive attitude. I believe he had a really strong faith.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, I've been listening to him recently. I mean, I listened to him a couple of years ago, but I kind of come back
Mhm.
to things. Who else is a big one? I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but
Any
yeah,
Audible books recently?
Audible. Well, I'm listening to the Nightingale series right now, but
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I'll have to check that out.
yeah, it's the strangest secret, I think, is the Earl Nightingale one. Uh I'm trying to think of some good stuff. I'm drawing a blank at the
No, that's
moment.
okay. Just any recommendations to help people is really good. And are you a
Yeah, that
quote guy? Do you have
I
some quotes
am. I
to share?
do. And it's from Earl Nightingale. We are what we think about. So I think it all starts with your mindset and what you're focused on. And
Mhm.
so if you gotta, like, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you gotta be thinking the right things. You gotta
For
be
sure.
setting the right tone for the day. And it all, I feel, stems from what you're thinking about. The mind is a beast. You gotta like really think about what you're thinking about.
Yeah,
What is your mind focused? You gotta,
gotta tame it.
you do, you do. Then I struggle with that as many do all day long.
Yes.
But the other thing that I'm glad I remembered is huge help for me has been by Brian Moran and his business partner Michael Leamington, I believe, is the
Okay.
12-week year.
Oh, yes, that's a
So
good book.
so I'm actually in a group. It was very affordable. And we talk every couple of weeks, but it included the software. I forget the name of the software, but you set up your 12-week plan. So you set up your goals, and then you got to get really granular. What are my tactics? Like, what are the steps for each goal? Mike actually talked to me a little bit about this several years ago when he was doing
Mhm.
the coaching call. He had whiteboards he would use, and I think it was like 7 different tasks he would work on in a 12-week period or something like
Yeah,
that.
he had the 12 little whiteboards that he put
Yeah.
his thing on.
And so that got me thinking about it. And then I never really implemented it though. And more recently, within the past 6 months, or it was the end of the summer, I started implementing it. And that has been a really big impact because sometimes you get so overwhelmed. You don't know where to go, what to do, and what's important. So if you every
Exactly.
12 weeks can write down, just mind map it is what they call it, just write down everything. And then you pick out, like, you don't want to pick out too much stuff, just 2, 3, because you need to spend 50% of your time. This is my opinion, but 50% of your time you're in the business, but you got to spend 50% of the time, if you can, maybe it's only 25% at the beginning. You got to spend a certain amount of time working on the business.
For
And
sure.
what are those things? So you got to be very specific with what you're working on. What is most important? And for me, it's sales. Like, and then so sales is very general. Like, what specifically am I going to do for sales? And then, oh, I'm going to run Google ads. Well, what exactly are you going to do with the Google ads? Like, you got to
Yes.
get very, for me personally, because I'm
Right.
like all over the place, extremely unfocused at times. And that grounds me. That
Yeah,
grounds me
that's good.
big time.
That's good. That's very helpful. Every time I do one of these interviews, whatever people mention, it's usually I've read it before,
Yeah.
listened to it
Yeah.
before, and I've on every one gone back and listened to whatever everybody recommends, because it's just it helps you understand where people are, and it's always so helpful. It's always so good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just to wrap up here, what would you say to somebody who's at the beginning of their business journey, not necessarily Augusta, but where would you point them, in what direction to get support and help? And do you think Augusta should be something, they even look into as a solution for their business?
Well, if you're thinking you need some help with your business, and obviously specific to landscaping, but then I think it's the way to go, because you got to look at it. Yes, you could develop maybe all the systems and the office staff and all that. What is it going to, like, honestly, what is that going to take? Maybe a decade?
Mm,
Uh, or if you're super fast, maybe 5 years. I don't really know. But
yeah, easily.
with Augusta, I mean, yes, there's a fee, but you got to look at it like, what's your time worth? Your time's
True.
invaluable. You can't put a price on your time.
Hmm.
Uh, so if you're thinking, I would say the first indication would be, you, I need help, right?
Right.
Then, like, you're not giving. I think there's, at least with my generation, there's a stereotype with franchises that, like, it's something negative, like, oh, you're giving something away. You're
Mm-hmm.
not giving anything away. You're growing and gaining within the group. It's the what always the biggest piece when I was having difficulty making the decision to come on board or not. No, and you write that list of what's
Mm-hmm.
pros and cons. Like, I knew what I needed to do. My intuition told me what I needed to do, but people around you tell you other things. They're not going through what you're going through. So you got to remember that. But I always came back to the fact it's a flat fee. It's a flat
Exactly.
fee. And think about what you're going to have the best website around. What would that cost you in itself to have?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they, Mike
400 a month.
runs, I mean, so take that off the top.
Yeah.
Now start looking at, well, now you got something like the dashboard. I mean, I spent a few hours in the dashboard, the marketing material. It's all
Yes.
there. You need to put some work into it. Obviously, they're not going to hand it to you on a golden platter, but
Mm-hmm.
it's all there. Like, do you want to spend your time doing that? You got to ask yourself, how do you want to spend your time? And I think someone that enjoys building those systems, and the thought wouldn't cross their mind necessarily that they need help in that sense. So that
Mm-hmm.
would be an indication to me, was like, if you're asking, like, and then you're thinking franchise, it's like, it's why build something that's already been built and that works? Why not just implement that?
Yeah, so it's not saying that people couldn't do it. They could do it, but this is buying them time and getting them years ahead.
Yeah, you're getting your time back, unless you're, there's the entrepreneur that just thrives off of,
On chaos.
yeah, like our founder, right? And then there's others of us that are business owners. And
Yes.
I didn't even know I was a business owner before I was a franchisee. I just was a
Pretty
landscaper with a,
awesome.
you know,
Yeah.
and that's my, like, I still struggle. Like, I consider myself like, I'm on the junior high team right now, playing basketball out there or whatever. I got to graduate to these different levels.
And folks, somehow he was voted by all the franchisees to be on the franchisee council. So I think you should have a little more confidence in yourself.
Well, you look at some of the bigger players out there, and you
But
always
it's the
want to improve.
quality. It's the quality of man that they're voting for too.
No, but I consider it a privilege. I consider that I've been blessed to be part of Augusta. So before we wrap up, you know, I know how, I don't know, but I have an idea of how tremendously hard you personally have worked to make all of this work.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, thank you. I mean, thank you very much. And if anyone's thinking about it, the other piece is, our founder is like in that 1%er, or maybe even less of the
Totally.
1%er of the population.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the green industry and you're having some struggles, get on the train while it's here, because, you don't want to
Yeah.
miss out. You don't want to miss out.
Yeah. It's awesome being on the
It's
bottom
special.
of this when we're, could have 1,000 someday. It's so nice
Right.
to be in the first, couple hundred.
It is. It's something very special, and you want to be part of it. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I
all
appreciate
right.
your time so much today.
Yeah,
And
no, it was great. I finally had an extended conversation with you, which is nice.
I love it. I love it. So I think it'll
Yeah.
help a lot of people. And thank your children for being so good. And you
Yeah.
have a wonderful day.
All right, Liz. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.